Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prep Football Preview brought to you by FriendshipCars.com. I'm Kenny Hawkins along with who else? Jesse Crawl. It is the second week of the playoffs in Tennessee. It is the opening week of the playoffs in Virginia, Southwest Virginia, that is. And, of course, some of the games that we're going to talk about tonight are going to be the games that we are going to be previewing or showing tomorrow on Touchdown Friday night. The very first game, it doesn't get any bigger than Knox Fulton coming up to Burley Stadium to take on Greeneville. Obviously, Greeneville rolled in their first playoff game. Just too many weapons. I mean, we've talked about this a number of times. Just too many. I mean, you pick your poison. I mean, do you want to go with the running back? Do you want to go with Gudger? Do you want to stop Gudger and leave Quillen and Gillespie open? Stevenson? I mean, just too many weapons.
And I mean, really, that's what it comes down to is that what do you want to stop? Do you want to load the box up and try to stop Gudger, who also had over 100 receiving yards? So obviously you can't stop him whether it's on the ground or through the air. I assume a lot of those yards though probably came through like screen passes and stuff like that. But I mean, this kid's too good. I mean, there's a reason why he's a Mr. Football finalist or semifinalist. So did they vote on finals yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so semifinals. If he's not a finalist, then someone's doing their job wrong. But nonetheless, this Greeneville team is absolutely loaded, and I think that kind of helps too. That a lot of these guys are also experienced. These guys, aren't sophomores and juniors. No knock on any of those guys, but obviously, when you have upperclassmen and seniors that are able to take reign over this game, you brought up Gudger, you brought up Kobe. Those guys can absolutely get it done. Ajate Dabbs, obviously, Brady Quillen, he stepped up big time last year, coming in after they injured their starting quarterback. So, when you really look at this Greeneville team, I think Knox Fulton's going to have its hands full and every other team in this class because this team is absolutely loaded. And when looking at their size, too, up front, it's absolutely massive. I mean, these kids are big. And I'm not saying, high school big. I'm talking these kids look like they could play at the next level. And I think a couple of them are, whether it's D2, D3, NAI, whatever it may be. Either way, these kids are definitely got the skill set to keep on winning and keep on rolling.
But, in their last game in the first round of the playoffs, it really wasn't that typical blow-away game.
No.
I mean, it was actually a little closer than I think a lot of us thought it would be in the first half. I mean, yeah, Greeneville took over in the second half. But it wasn't the blowout where it wasn't 88 points, like they put on, Sullivan East.
Yep.
So we know the competition obviously is getting tougher.
Well, I mean, they were tied at 14 after the first quarter. I mean, that's what you're going to run into in these playoffs, like you just brought up. I mean, the postseason, everyone's going to get their best game, especially Greeneville. Greeneville is definitely going to get their best game. Elizabethton, we'll talk about them in a second. But Elizabethton, obviously, is going to get everyone's best game, too, being the, back-to-back state champion. So I just think it's one of these teams where, like I said, Greeneville's got the experience. They're not going to falter under pressure. They're not going to get cold feet or anything like that. And, Spradlin, he is an absolute ball of energy. He was at this practice earlier this week, and that guy, he can get him ramped up. And that's what you want to see. He definitely brings the juice. When you talk about someone bringing the juice, that guy brings it every single day, every single practice. So these guys, I think they know where the end goal is. They just can't get it too ahead of themselves, and I think that's what their biggest problem will be if they get too confident, but I really don't see this team doing that.
All right, as you mentioned, we're going to hear from the man that brings the juice and also some of his players as they get ready to take on Knox Fulton.
They're explosive offense. Their quarterback's a really good runner. He can take it to the house anytime he touches it. They got a big-time defensive lineman that's committed to Furman. So it's going to be a challenge on both sides of the football for us.
We expect them to come out strong and to fight with us. And we just got to roll with the punches and keep punching back.
You got to be hungry. You can't ever get complacent. Anybody can win on any Friday. Even if the odds are against you, you can still win. So we know that. Everybody's gunning for us. We're number one. So we try not to let it get to our heads, and we still keep on fighting every week during practice, and especially on the game days.
We've got great senior leadership, which is big time for this football team. We've been in big games this year, which is going to help us continue to play big in the playoffs with that experience that we've gotten throughout the season. And we're pretty dang healthy right now, which is going to be good.
I think we all just need to come out and give it the best we got. And I think we're pretty hard to beat whenever we're all at our best.
They're a good team. They have a couple good skill dudes. They have a really good defensive line. But we're looking forward to the challenge. We think we have some guys, and we always bet against ourselves and over anybody else. So we're looking forward to it.
The big thing, we got to control the football. We can't turn it over. We got to move the football down the field and be able to, convert first downs, move the ball on third. We get in the third and down situation, and we've got to be able to contain the big plays. They survive off of big plays on their offense, but we got to be able to contain those big plays, which will be big for us this week.
And Coach, talk about them striving off the big plays. A couple of guys to keep your eye on is Marcellus Jackson. He had like 200 yards, 3 touchdowns last week. Davion Chenault total with 149 yards and a pair of scores. Fulton produced, I think they were playing volunteer if I'm not mistaken. Fulton produced most of his 401 yards on the ground, gaining 337. So obviously this is going to be a football team that Greenville's going to play that wants to run it on the ground.
Well, I just brought up the size, too, of Greenville's defensive line. I mean, these guys are massive. They've got big kids, and we've seen it. We've seen them shut down teams. Whether it's running the ball or passing the ball, it really doesn't matter who they've been playing, but they've shut them down defensively. So these guys definitely have the weapons defensively. You brought up how, this could turn into a shootout, and, they got these offensive weapons, but I really don't see that from Greeneville. I don't know when that's going to happen along these playoffs right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do shut Fulton down. I mean, we saw it last week. Yeah, they gave up 14. Then they just buckled down and rattled off how many straight points to, wrap up that win. So Greenville's defense is obviously battle-tested. They have the pieces to do well. They have the guys that are going to be able to step up, whether it's on the defensive line or secondary. I mean, we've seen Jacoby Gillespie how many times pick off a pass with some acrobatic catch, weave his way, and find the end zone. I mean, that's just what it is. So if they want to run the ball, Greenville's probably welcome to that. Just stack the box and get after it.
And, of course, we just saw highlights of Fulton playing Farragut, DeRondre Pebbles. Hope I said his name right. I got the Pebbles right.
Hey, Pebbles, that's all that matters.
On defense, a couple of guys to keep your eye on. Dexter Lewis, he had 8 tackles last week. And also Seth Vaughn bagging 2.5 sacks. So one thing that I see when I watch Fulton play in these highlights, I think they got Anderson County right here, is this is a team that's got speed. So it might be speed against speed.
Hey, I'll take Greeneville speed any day of the week. I'll tell you what. I mean, this secondary and the second level of the linebackers is absolutely – these kids are blazing. They play with like their heads on fire, and they absolutely get to the ball. They rush to the ball. They put 11 man on that ball, so it doesn't matter what this team does. A couple of the games I've been to this year, it's, score fast, and let's come out of the gates ready to roll. So this Fulton team, obviously, if they love to run the ball, good for them, great for them. But when you're down 14-0 or 21-0 right off the bat to a Greeneville team that has so many weapons that loves to pile on the points, that ain't going to be working so well. So, I put my confidence in this Greeneville defensive line, and then when Fulton turns to that passing attack, I think the secondary is going to really soar to the ball.
For game number 2 in our preview tonight, we stay in Greene County. We just go over to South Greene. They're going to be taking on Oneida. Of course, South Greene coming off a win over York Institute in the first round of the playoffs. And is this really true? They held them to 10 total offensive yards. 10 total.
You heard it. You heard it from the internet.
I could fall off the bus and get 10 total offensive yards.
I had to confirm that, and maybe I heard it wrong, or he said it wrong. I trust Sean Jones. He's a great coach, great guy. So when he said 10 total yards, maybe I heard him wrong. Like I said, you know how I am. I can sometimes be a space cadet, kind of, hear one thing and, misconstrue it a little bit. But nonetheless, whether it was 10 total yards, 10 rushing yards, 10 passing yards, whatever it was, when you're able to hold the team to just 10 yards, no matter what it is, that's truly phenomenal. So South Greene being able to do that, that's absolutely amazing. Obviously this South Greene team is loaded with talent as well. Battle-tested kids that are just kind of senior-heavy a little bit. I think they do have a couple of juniors stepping up for them. But I think it all starts with number 1. I think that's obvious. We all know that. We've been saying his name for the past couple of years. Luke Myers is absolutely ridiculous. Whether it's on the offensive or defensive side, this kid can tear it up. But he also has a ton of weapons. I was looking at the stat line last week. Caleb Robinson, Clint Lamb, Chandler Fillers, and Jalen Ingram. And if I remember the stat correctly, all those guys have over 400 receiving yards. Wow. So when you have Luke Myers who can run the ball like he can, and then he's able to air it out like that, I think they're going to be in for a world of hurt, Oneida is. And, I mean, obviously we've seen what Luke Myers can do with his legs. I think he's been battling injuries, if I read that correctly. Or they're trying to, save him a little bit and not run him as much. I think that might be it too. But either way, this offense is potent. They're going to put up the points, and Oneida better be ready for it.
Well, we talk a lot about the offense, but it looks like we should be talking about this defense. 10 total yards. I mean, I want you to think about that for a minute. Did they even get a first down? I mean, is that 10 yards in total, or was it like one 10-yard run?
Hey, if someone on Facebook could help us out.
Exactly.
Because that was just amazing.
That is amazing. Of course, we talked to the South Green Rebels and head coach Sean Jones about their big win over York Institute and about their upcoming game against Oneida.
We told the boys a good possibility if we even played those games that we'd be 0-2. We felt like we had an opportunity to beat Boone, but they've got a great ball club too. And you see they were in the second round of playoffs of 5A. So, but we were mature. We were prepared for what was going to happen, and they took it in stride and bought into what we was doing, and then we rode off 8 straight there at the end of the season and the regular season. So having a veteran group that comes to practice like they do and take things serious when we're out here practicing is a big deal. Last year, like I say, nobody expected us to do a whole lot of things, but we're not sneaking up on anybody this year, and the guys have stepped up to the challenge. So we got to continue to do that. These opportunities around here, because you got so many schools in Greene County, come around very, very few opportunities to make the run that we're going to try to make. So and they understand the importance of that. These seniors do.
Just a hard game. They look great on film, and we're going to have to show up, play our best game. It should be close, 4-quarter game. And I'm excited. Being out here as a team, getting to know each other and all that, just to focus together and become one just gets you deeper in the playoffs, I think.
Oneida's a great ball club. They're going to come in here, they're big up front. Offensively, they're just going to try to run the football and we'll throw it a little bit. But defensively, they've got a real good defense. They're real technique sound. Coach Lambert, who's went on to the college ranks, was down there for years to base their defense. But we come out, and if we could play like we did last week on defense, then we got a good shot with the offense that we got going. So we feel really good about our chances this week.
Yeah, I was looking at film today. They got a pretty big line. They got their running backs. They got a 19. He's pretty solid running back. 21's pretty fast. We just got to stop the run game. I know our secondary will do their job, so just got to stop them up front. Offense, they're going to do their thing with Luke back there. It's just, you expect everything for them. They're just a good offensive group.
So once again, South Green, can they hang a 10 spot on their next opponent here, Oneida? We're talking about an Oneida team so far this year. We're going to have two differences in offense. South Green, to me, is a fast. To me, they're almost a little bit like Tennessee's offense. In other words, they don't slow down for bumps in the road. They just keep going.
Keep rolling, baby.
Yeah, with Luke Myers. Whereas Oneida's offense is kind of like a slow simmer. Okay, it's not all the way up. They average about 16, 18 points per game with a high of 3 scores in the last 2 games. So, and when you really think about it, that actually might be their best maneuver against South Green is to keep their offense off the field.
Yeah, just keep the ball away from them and keep the ball away from number 1. But I can tell you this much. You talked about that offense simmering. Well, I can tell you South Green's offense is scalding hot right now because these boys are rolling with all that momentum they have. And, yeah, I think that is their best bet is to try to keep them off the field. But how long is that going to work? Because, as we mentioned, 10 total yards. Like I said, we don't know for sure if that was 10 total yards. That's incredible. Yeah. But we'll go with it because if it is, this Oneida team isn't going to get anything rolling. I mean, yeah, you want to slow this game down. Before you know it, it's going to be 14-0, 21-0. Luke Myers is going to be running wild. He's going to have 2 touchdown passes and then 200 yards in the first half.
Hold on now. Hold up. I mean, other than week 1 when they allowed 50 points in a loss to Rockwood, this team has averaged just 15 points per game. So they've not allowed anyone to get more than 15 points. In fact, 24 was allowed in the Rockwood in October the 1st. So this is a team that also has a pretty good defense.
South Green's got them weapons, though. South Green has them weapons. I can tell you that much. You got a Mr. Football finalist from last year, semifinalist this year. True. Once again, he should be a finalist. If he's not a finalist, someone's doing their job wrong. But yeah, this offense is scary good. I don't know what they have in Greeneville. I don't know what type of water they're drinking or what when they're turning out these football teams left and right. But I absolutely love it, man.
It's not water.
It's
not water. Okay, it's called soup beans. You don't know nothing about that.
I don't want to know nothing about that.
Call soup beans with some cornbread.
Hey, all I know is that we in the Midwest eat stuff normal. It's called chili. I don't know what you guys do.
I know
what
what y'all do, but I'm just telling you.
Hey, they're going to need a lot of chili. I'll tell you what, if Oneida wants to slow South Greens down, because this offensive line, too, is absolutely potent. They got some big boys. But they're also fast. That's the thing, too. This offensive line is fast, man. And then, like you said, if they want to keep the pace going, is Oneida going to be able to keep up? We don't know. I don't know what these Knoxville offenses look like. I don't know what these other area teams look like that they've played. And, you know, if it's the slowing pace and if you're going slow pace for slow pace, okay, maybe that's fine with Oneida. But if you're able to get like South Green and, you know, keep on turning out plays left and right, they're not going to know what hit them.
Well, the best way to play against that is to get out front.
Yep.
And then force the other team to kind of rush it and go into a throwing mode, kind of like we were talking about earlier with one of the other teams. If you allow them to jump out first, it's almost like playing a triple option, like against Citadel or Wofford or whatever. It just makes things a lot more difficult. Oneida's outside linebackers, you'll probably hear about them this weekend. Emilio Sanchez, Kylan Carson, and Ethan Blair have been really kind of the key cogs in this defense that's been averaging about 15.9 points per game given up. Our third big game on Friday night is Pigeon Forge and Unicoi County. And to be completely honest with you, I don't know how Unicoi County won this game. I mean, I really don't. I mean, total yards was Austin East 250 to 83. And they held Unicoi County to just 17 yards passing. But yet they still came away with the win.
Hey, Nehemiah Edwards, that's what it is right there.
Wow.
The savior, the man with the lettuce. You absolutely love to see that. I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal. You know, just being able to rely on him, the offense starts and ends with him. And obviously, that's why he's one of our News Channel 11 Player of the Weeks. I mean, that kid was absolutely been tearing it up all season long. So he's amazing. You know, when kind of looking at the stat line in the box score, I saw on the defensive side, you know, Brody Rasnock and Blake Edney. I hope I'm saying those words. Rasnick, yes, excuse me. My handwriting, chicken scratch. I can't even read it myself. But
that's true.
Nonetheless, I mean, this Unicoi County team, I think this is it, obviously I'm not a Unicoi County specialist. Is this their best, how far they've gone ever in school history? Is this the deepest they've made?
No, I think they've gone a little deeper.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but it has been a while, though.
Is it if they win this game, it's the deepest?
I think if they win this game, because I remember them winning an opening playoff round.
Okay.
I mean, so it must be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. Either way, though, I mean, a lot riding down those lines for this Unicoi County team. We've seen them roll this year. You know, kind of got their bumps along the roads later in the season. But right now, I think they're rolling right now. Nehemiah Edwards, you hand him the rock. What Pigeon Forge needs to do, though, that's it right there. Stop Nehemiah Edwards. Stop the man with the luscious locks, because that's all that really matters for this team. And no knock on the other kids, but like I said, the offense starts and ends with Edwards, and if Pigeon Forge really wants to stop it, I think they just stack the box.
You know, for a number of years, the team that usually knocked Unicoi County out was always Austin East. And the difference is that Unicoi County had to go on the road and face Austin East and Knoxville. And I think that's the difference this year is the fact they were able to play them here at home. Also in this game, Snyder had a block punt. Blake Edney added 5 defensive stops as well. Once again, they will need to have a tough game or a good game against Pigeon Forge. We had an opportunity to talk to Unicoi County's coach and their players about being in the second round and getting ready to face Pigeon Forge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, it was, you know, feel like it was a huge win for us and at home, and to have another, you know, home playoff game this week, just, you know, just extending our season, and, you know, happy for our seniors and, you know, just all these guys, and, you know, we're going to have a, you know, a huge test this week, so hopefully, you know, we have a good week of preparation, you know, as we get ready for it.
They're going to be extremely well coached, and they're a good ball team, and we've got to definitely be focused and ready to play.
It's very, very important. We have a lot of support in the community. A lot of parents are really good with supporting us. I think that the home playoff advantage is going to be really big for us in the next game or two.
They're super well coached. Coach Meadows does a great job for them, and you know, you can just tell they make very few mistakes, and You know, we've talked for 2 weeks now that, you know, once you get to the playoffs, the margin of error, you know, shrinks, you know, significantly each week. So we've talked about that, and that's going to be a focus of ours. And, you know, we just know we're going to have to put a complete game together to find a way to win it.
Blocking and keeping our run game strong and the ability to come in and pass when we need to will be huge.
They are very well coached. They will probably be the most well coached team we've played so far. I'm expecting a lot. Yeah, we're pretty similar, defense and offense. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very good game.
We haven't been in the quarterfinals since 1985, so you know, and there's you know, that's a long time. That's longer than I've been alive. So you know, just that possibility and that being on the table, and you know, like we said, you know, being a home game and you know, having that opportunity here, you know, at our home stadium, it's really exciting.
They went that far.
I was going to say, you just answered my question. I should have just shut my mouth.
I'm going to tell you right now, that's a long time ago right there. I didn't come until the following year. Let's talk about Pigeon Forge. Brady Maples, big running back for them. He had touchdowns of 4 and 9 yards last week. Quarterback Tyson McFall, Bryson King. These are young men that Unicoi County will have to slow down.
So I was going to say, what you just said was this team likes to run the ball. You know, and I think this Unicoi County team is used to this from the teams they played in this area. Everyone likes to run the ball, smash mouth type football, blue collar type football. And when you're able to, you know, shut down that run game, it'll open up the defense a little bit more, and you know, just being able to stop the aerial attack. And I think this Unicoi County team can do that. It's just, if you're able to get Nehemiah Edwards the ball, I feel like I keep bringing this kid's name up, but I mean, rightfully so. Yeah. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, they handed off, you know, 20, 30 times, and it's funny because when we did that Player of the Week, I go, what's your goal? What do you usually like to do with him offensively? He goes, if we need to hand it off 15 times to him, that's fine. If we need to hand it off 40 times to him, that's also fine. Whatever leads us to the victory. Wow. So I think that's what's going to happen when these playoffs start ramping up a little bit, as your coach heard coach just say, is that the margin of error keeps on getting smaller and smaller every single week. And a kid like Edwards, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So if you're able to give him the rock 30 times and he's fine with that, and it's you know, doing justice and it's being successful, then go for it. Do what you got to do. But I think Pigeon Forge knows what they're going to expect from this team.
Well, if he gives it to him 35 times, I'm going to put him on my fantasy football team to help me with my numbers. We just saw a video there of Oneida taking on Austin East. And some of that video we saw Brady Maples, the running back. He's kind of a big running back. He's kind of a wide body. He can also catch it out of the backfield. But while watching that video, you can tell definitely this is a team that loves to run the football. Yep. I mean, it is ground and pound, and they're not going to put it in the air that much. So as you mentioned, this is a video of Oneida and Northview playing earlier this year. So it's a team that also takes advantage of the turnovers. I think Drew Reich said that as well. We can't turn this football over against this football team. All right, we move on. Let's head to Southwest Virginia, the first of their playoffs. And I would think after last week, this is not a position where I think Virginia High thought they would be in the opening round taking on Union. Let's talk about Virginia High. I mean, this is, you know, Stevie's one of our players of the week earlier this week. But this is a Virginia High team that is basically, other than a hiccup, has been rolling all year. But they're coming off a loss to Richlands.
Well, they should have won last week, and there's no knock on Richlands. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but they gave up 22 points in the fourth quarter to drop to Richlands. And it's just, you can't be doing that in the postseason. I can't be doing that against any team, whether it's regular season or playoffs. But you brought up Stevie Thomas. That kid is an absolute workhorse. They love handing him the rock. Whether it's out of the backfield, throwing it to him out of the slot. I think he kick returned and some punts returns, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one. But, yeah, that kid's, you know, an absolute weapon that is really hard to contain. But obviously this Union Bears team has seen plenty of weapons from the area. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in this area, including, you know, they played Abingdon. They played a couple of other teams that really have guys that can stand out and, you know, take away a game. So, a stat that I kind of was astonished by, and obviously it has nothing to do with this game, that they haven't beaten Richland since 1999. Could you imagine if they would have won that game last week? You know, tip of the cap to them. Have a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. You only have, I think, one loss in the season for Virginia High.
And that's the reason why I was saying I think it would have put them in a different playoff spot.
Yep.
Had they won. Because they lost, then it drops them in there against Union.
Well, I think I'm going to be honest with you. I was looking at some of these rankings and some seedings and who's hosted and who's not hosting, and it's kind of wonky, honestly, when you look at it. I don't know what Virginia did. I know a couple of parents were asking me how the playoff system is working, and I go, ma'am, sir, I don't know. Yeah, I think they just kind of threw, paint on a wall and see if it stuck. But, yeah, this Virginia High Union game is going to be loaded with talent. There's going to be a lot of kids on both sides of the ball that can really make plays. But Virginia High, honestly, I think we just got to give him a pat on the back to Derek Patterson, what he's done at this school. Because you turn a program around like that with essentially, obviously, give or take a couple of kids, you turn around a program just like that in a year to 8-2. That's what the record says on Max Preps. I mean, I think they won 2 or 3 games last year. So, I mean, there's a lot of momentum, or I should say last spring, but there's a lot of momentum going forward for this team, whether they win or lose this game. So it's going to be exciting to see what this Virginia High team can do going forward in the next coming seasons.
Yeah, I mean, we had one report at one time that the coach had lost the team up there under the previous coach, who was doing a good job, and doing a good job at Radford. And, those are not verified statements, but times were not good. Let me just put it that way. At what point, okay, I built them up. Let's talk about Union now. Obviously, they got the Z-Man, and he's coming off a big game. 10 carries, 91 yards. Bradley Bunch, the funky bunch, passed for 68 yards and 2 touchdowns, rushed for 1. But no disrespect. Okay, I know this is going to come out wrong, but they were playing John Battle.
Yep.
John Battle's like 0-10. I don't know. And then you had like 8 different players who scored in this game. I mean, was this really a tune-up for what they're getting ready to face in Virginia High?
All right, what you have to do, though, is make sure you win the games that you need to win and do it in dominating fashion. Because if you lose, or not lose, but if you beat John Battle 24-7, or it's a close game, honestly, it still counts as a win, but you kind of take a step back a little bit because you didn't perform to the best of your ability going into the postseason. So they did what they had to do, absolutely dominate. You talk about the depth this team has, and that's what you need in the playoffs. You can't be just one person, one-man wrecking crew, because when this playoff starts rolling a little bit and you start getting into these deeper rounds, these teams, we've seen it. They have these D1 talent athletes all over the field, and obviously Union has the depth, has the reign to kind of make a run. And we saw it last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to just last year. I mean, this was just a couple of months ago. So I think what this Union team really needs to do is do what works for them. Yes, give the ball to Xavier Lomax. He's an absolute unit. Kid's built like a Mack truck. Bradley Bunch obviously has a great arm on him. You can find his wideouts. Keandre Bunch is also good. Gabe Sneed is a great wideout as well. Corbin Jenkins, Malachi Jenkins, those guys obviously are great weapons, whether it's on the special teams or the offensive side. But this offensive front too, units. Guys are absolute hog mollies up front. So if Union's able to run the ball well, I think that'll open up the passing game for Bradley and the boys.
I'm going to have to put closed caption on the bottom of this because I don't know if anybody knows what wonky means or units or hog mollies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have to put up a description exactly what you're talking about with that North Minnesota accent.
Hey, there's a lot of people like that down there.
There you go. You're right. Let's move on to our final game that we're going to preview. Honaker taking on Holston. Funny, we just got through talking about the Virginia High coach. Holston was his team last year, rolling. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're still unbeaten. One of the few teams on that side of the state that is still unbeaten. Cavs quarterback Bryson Sheets has done a pretty good job.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. You look at this offense, that's where it starts and finishes with him. I mean, he's done a great job. But this run game is also phenomenal, too. I hope I'm saying his name wrong. Gage Quinoa? Nah, that's definitely not quinoa, but Quina? Quina. So whoever is on Facebook, help a man out right there because that's what you need. Landon Sanders on the outside as a wide receiver, he's absolutely amazing as well. But this defense, I mean, a lot of kids play both sides. I mean, you got Lane Blevins on the defense side, Keno, Ezel, Dustin Bott. I mean, you bring up Jordan Ezel, he was also an amazing running back as well. But they beat a Chilhowie team last week that was pretty solid. I mean, they held them to only 113 yards. You like to see the point total go up, but obviously I think we know that Chilhowie's a tough team, but they only beat them by 16-3. But it doesn't matter, though. Win's a win over a really good team. And, great job by the new head coach being able to step in, take over this team, get them rolling. They haven't missed a beat since last spring. So Holston is really tough this season. And, Honaker's going to have its hands full offensively and defensively.
Yeah, in fact, they're coming off a game in which they just lost, I think, to the Panthers of Twin Valley by the score of 50-36. So you're right. I mean, Honaker's going to have their hands full. And you just mentioned the defense. They only allowed last week 113 yards. So if they can continue to play like that, then they're going to continue to keep a 0 on the side where it says losses. But I think they have been one of the big surprises this year. I think after they lost their head coach, after Patterson left, I thought everybody thought this team would probably implode. They did not. They had a great spring, and then they come out and they followed up now with a great fall, and they keep their eye on a state championship. All right, folks, listen, that's going to do it for us basically for the entire year. I mean, this is our second time doing the prep football preview. We did it last year, and obviously we did it inside the studio, and we had Michael Epps with us last year, and he was with us for half the season, or maybe not half, but maybe a quarter.
Also, shout out too, because we just forgot about this. Doug Hubbard, this could be his final game.
That's right. That's right.
So
and
39 years.
And I know you got a story that you're going to run possibly this weekend on Sunday. But congratulations to him. That's a long time if you go into your 30 year. Oh, yeah, that's right, 35. Yeah. But you're right. Congratulations to him, and his football team has been playing well. Hopefully, they continue to move forward and not go out, obviously, in the first round. And I have butchered his name at times this year, but, I don't even know what I called him last week. But Slater Teague, we want to thank him for pushing the buttons. I call him the engineer. He's the one who keeps this train on track. Don't forget the games that we talked about tonight, along with probably about 8 more. We'll have highlights on Touchdown Friday night. We definitely want to thank FriendshipCars.com. Without them, we wouldn't be here, okay? We would just be on the corner talking about this stuff. You guys,
then we can ask for money. I'll have my hat out.
There you go. There you go. And obviously, thank you for those that have been loyal viewers, such as Mr. Crawl. We don't even consider him a viewer anymore.
Hey,
he's just family. He's like part of the show.
You log on, and there's already a 1 up there right next to the thing.
He's just part of the show now. So he's like family. So we don't even consider him like a viewer. But, all right, that's going to do it for us. Good job, man. Obviously, you're going to be in Boone, North Carolina with the ETSU Buccaneers tomorrow as they open up against Appalachian State. All right, for Jesse Crawl, I'm Kenny Hawkins. Good night, everybody.